What's up? I'm Ogle with Zueike, and let's lounge everywhere.
All I see is blessings, got no time for stressing. Don't believe
Hey, what's up? This is Lounge Everywhere, and I'm your host, Ogle Okmabua, and I'm here with Matthew Sabourin.
Sabourin, nice work.
Thank you very much. Of Nonsuch Brewery, one of the top breweries here in the city. Eclectic style. If you get a chance to come over here, you guys will be, knocked off your feet as I was. And you know what? What better way to start off by asking Matthew, how did this all get going? Like, when did you fall in love with beer?
I fell in love with beer quite a while ago.
Okay.
My first love was actually wine, of all things, and I remember thinking to myself at the tender age of 18, wondering, man, I would love to own a winery someday. But then I thought about, well, wait a second, I have a problem because I love my home. I love Manitoba. I don't think I ever see myself wanting to leave. Well, it's kind of a problem there because we can't really grow grapevines here, or at least not the kinds that are readily available and currently popular.
Right.
And so I thought, wow, boy, oh boy, I have myself a problem here. So anyways, I put it on the shelf for a little bit. I was trying to dream up all these ridiculous things about how you can pull it off. It was never going to happen. And then at one point in my life, I started drinking a lot of beer. I always have. It's what we do. I'm from a farm, and that's what we did, right? On a Saturday, popcorn and beer and play some cribbage. And,
yeah, it's wicked.
And so I'd always been drinking beer, and then I discovered craft beer. And through that discovery, I started learning about all the different kinds of beers that exist in the world, and it is plentiful.
Right.
And a subset of that are Belgian beers. And what's really interesting about Belgian beers is that they're typically known to be higher in alcohol, and many of them are designed to be cellared, to age, exactly like wine.
Okay.
And I started learning all these things about these beers, and I'm thinking, wait a second, what's going on here? Some of these beers can be treated like kind of wine, about all the great things that I loved about wine, what had originally attracted me to that idea. And so I started piecing it together. I'm like, wait a second. If we do X, Y, and Z, and we change this and do this packaging, I'm essentially selling, what looks like wine in a beer bottle,
right?
Or beer in a wine bottle. And that was kind of the idea, the core of what later became Nonsuch.
That is awesome.
It took a long time, right? I turned 18 in 2002, and Nonsuch kicked off. We incorporated in 2016.
Okay.
So, and served our first drop of beer in 2017 to the public. So,
outstanding.
It was a long weaving road of various ideas and various experiences that I was living that permitted me to see it this way.
And how many members are part of Nonsuch? I know you're the president, the founder.
Yeah, as the founding team, or just the whole?
Just the founding team.
The founding team, four.
Four founding team, and then whole entire team now. How many do you guys have here in terms of employees? And
COVID's been not the kindest, of course, so we're a little bit over 20 right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome seeing. I think we have the same problem. I don't see myself ever living in another place other than Manitoba, Winnipeg. I love the city, love the province. I love to visit a lot of different places.
Yes.
But this is home for me. Definitely home for me. So.
Well, that was the play for me. I thought, well, wait a second. I don't ever want to leave, but I do want to see a lot of the world.
You bet.
And I think that's the beautiful thing that we have here, is that we can do both.
Right.
We can afford to live this beautiful life here, and also afford to visit, and that's great. I mean, get to go a place, experience it, soak it all in, come back, nothing but smiles and wonderful experience, come back home to the comforts, to the families, and it's best of both worlds. That
is absolutely so true, so awesome. I everyone that I've been offered, hey, move to Toronto, move to Atlanta, move to, no. This is home, and starting our business, we love clothing, and one of the biggest things, Zueike means to relax.
Right.
So we love relaxing. We love relaxing with friends and chatting. And Winnipeg is so unique in terms of the way we communicate, the way we are really kind of connected by 1 degree. It feels like a separation.
Right.
And we love kind of being able to be like, hey, you know what? let's go for a beer. One of the most important pieces, and I'm, as we've mentioned already, I'm not the biggest drink, but I like to go out with my friends
Right.
and enjoy a drink.
Right.
The greatest conversations, the dumbest ideas, all the great things happen around, a nice beverage. Even right now, we have a little bit of water here,
Yeah.
but we're gonna go and definitely test it out. As I had mentioned before, we're here at Nonsuch, and I'm a bourbon drinker.
Right.
I like my whiskeys and I like my sweet drinks. And we pose the challenge, of course.
Yes.
I
told you, challenge accepted.
We're gonna definitely try the palate today.
This is my favorite. Honestly, these kinds of moments are my most exciting moments. They're my favorite moments. Because our conversion rate is amazing.
Is it okay?
And the amount of people that say, I just drink wine,
Right.
or I'm just a whiskey guy,
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's very rare. Now, of course, it happens,
Right.
of course, but it's very rare that there's not this aha moment of
Right.
saying, wow, I never thought I could like beer. I've never tasted beer like this. I didn't know beer could even taste like this.
Right.
And so I prepared a few selections for you that I think are really quite unique.
Wicked.
And based on a little bit of what you've described, I think we'll be able to find something. We don't have very many sweet beers.
Okay.
Although there is one,
Yeah.
definitely sweet. But I think that with some other components, you might be okay with the fact that it's not so sweet. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I'll briefly tell you the story of why I've been a traumatized beer drinker. I started off as a young pup, and we used to go to Lockport here in Manitoba all the time with my father, catfishing. It used to be every weekend, and he'd end off the night with a nice cold OV. And every time I mentioned OV throughout my life, everyone's like, "Oh, I completely understand why." And I got the courage enough one day to say, "Hey, can I have some?" And of course, my dad was like, "This might be the best way to stop him from drinking at all, right?" So, so he says, "Hey, you know what? Have a little sip of this OV." And I took it down like I thought it was like 7-Up or ginger ale, and it was the worst tasting drink. So, through the rest of my life, through college, and I've tried and I've dabbled, but every single time I'm always reminded of that day, and I'm like, it's just not the taste for me.
Right.
So, but I've heard very, very big and positive things about craft beer. Everyone talks about, just because there's a huge element of craftsmanship. That's why it's a craft beer.
Exactly.
You fine tune some of the tastes and everything, and I'm super excited to kind of give this thing a rock and go.
One of the things that from that story is that you were drinking macro beer, and I'm not going to sit here and just hate on macro beer.
Right.
That's not the point of this conversation. But there really is something special about craft beer when there is absolutely no compromise to the flavors and to the ingredients. It can really take a beer from here to there.
Right.
And so for me it wasn't OV, it was Lab Light. And I'm a Subway from Saint-Jean-Baptiste, that's what you drank. If you didn't, everyone looked at you like, what's going on here? I don't understand. To be honest with you, I had to choke it down at first. And then you get used to it.
Right.
And so
that's what everyone says, get used to it.
Yeah,
I want to get used to this. I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I find that with craft beer, you don't necessarily have to get used to it. What you do need to find, though, is your gateway beer, so to speak.
Right.
And so I found that, in speaking with people, they were like, I don't drink craft. And then you find them that one beer where just the lid is blown up on craft beer. And all of a sudden they're like, wait a second, I love this. Now I want to try another one. Now I want to try another one. And then it's just never ending. And then all of a sudden you're trying all these beers that you would have never ever thought you'd be drinking because you've now passed the threshold into craft beer, and it's endless. The selection is never ending. Local breweries alone are coming out with something weekly. So add in outside of interprovincial trading and all that, the selection is endless. And so if you want to drink a different beer every single time you go out drinking, you can. Like it's that plain.
Be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way.
One thing I love, as you explained your journey in terms of from wine to beer, and I love that you brought in your love for wine, even in your packaging.
Right.
Like I was not expecting that at all. When I think of traditional beer,
Right.
not thinking of, I mean, the details and the thought, and still not losing your first love.
Right, exactly.
And still being able to understand that, hey, this is some of the same process. So help me out a little bit, because I mean, it goes from bottle down to glasses, and maybe before we indulge on our first little taste test here, tell me a little bit about your selection of bottles and beers and why that's important.
Yeah. So I'm so happy you asked about the bottle. The bottle is actually a champagne bottle.
Ah,
so
okay.
This is the identical design to the Moët and to
Okay.
the high-end champagnes that are out in the world. And so we start off by bottling them in champagne bottles. So they have a cork and cage.
Okay.
And that's really important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, we do what's called bottle conditioning. And so what that means is that the product gets carbonated inside the bottle. So when you do that, you typically need really high grade glass. Otherwise, if it's really flimsy, it'll blow up.
Right.
So so that's why there's the cork in the cage. And then the cork actually, further to it allowing you to have that pressurized vessel, it also seals the bottle better than a cap would. And so there's always going to be a certain degree of ingress of oxygen inside your bottle with a cap.
Right.
With a cork, it's fully sealed. And we have the best possible corks you can buy. They're composite corks, but the bottom two portions are solid cork, and the grains are opposite to each other. So you can't touch the seal there. It's the best.
That's outstanding.
And so that's where it starts off in the bottle. And then, of course, this is our tripel. And we typically serve this to folks who come in and say, I'm only a wine drinker, I don't drink beer.
Okay.
And what I love about this beer is it's like the big sibling to our Belgian Blonde, which is one of our best-selling beers in a can.
Okay,
our Blonde's at 7%, this one's at 9.25%.
Ah, okay.
So really quite forward. There's a beautiful alcohol sweetness to it.
Okay.
There's some grassy notes from the Saz hops that we use.
Okay.
And so it's just a really, really complex journey. But what's really interesting is that even if it's 9.25%, often you're going to get to really intense, like the beers at upwards of 9% get a little too much mouthfeel, a little too intense.
Okay.
But this one just rides all of that perfectly. In my opinion.
Okay. Well, let's start off here.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. That is actually very nice.
Yeah.
Not overpowering, not like attacking my mouth.
Right.
You know, very slight remembrance of OV, but not like just because of I don't know if it's yeast or what would be the actual, is it the hops? I don't know what would be the actual thing that reminds me of this every time.
It would probably, in this case, it would probably be the malt profile.
Okay.
It's a pretty, we'll say, simple malt profile. And so OV would have that relatively simple malt profile as well.
I'm actually having another because it actually is very nice. Like I am.
Right, beautiful finish.
Yeah.
This is 9.25%. This is almost twice the amount of alcohol you had in an OV.
Wow.
Like it should be, if you took that OV and you doubled it, it would just be ripping your face off. This is not the case, right? It's clean, it's smooth. This could even be consumed a little bit warmer, and you would get even more flavor, even more complexity. And so that's a lot of, that's a pretty significant showcase of what a high quality beer is. If you can drink it a little bit warmer, it's still really, really good. You have nothing but the best of ingredients. Some beers, they say, cold certified.
Cold, yeah.
Got to be as cold as possible. Why are they doing that? It's because they're trying to hide
their lack of flavor.
When you chill things, you reduce the amount of flavor complexity.
That's
we're
not
not,
to know.
We would encourage you to, even try this upwards of 8 degrees Celsius. And I mean, That's very warm
More for a beer.
So.
Well, I will tell you that it is actually, and I'm not gonna lie, it is delicious. It's actually smooth. I love when an alcohol doesn't feel like it's so aggressive and it's really smooth, nice taste. I've gone back to this 4 times. This is sip number 4.
So what's really interesting about the Tiped is that there's a certain degree of alcohol sweetness that's probably playing tricks too as well.
Okay.
It's just really good at balancing everything out, and it's probably just hitting those notes that you really quite enjoy in other drinks.
This is coming back to the lounge for sure. Like I will be buying a number of those because I quite enjoy it. I think it's very wonderful, nice and smooth. You know, while we're enjoying this, tell me a little bit about, I saw you went to St. B. You're a local boy.
Yes.
Did you play any sports? What is your, we talked a little bit earlier about running.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting into that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about.
I am not the sporty type.
Okay.
But I do enjoy climbing.
Okay.
And I've gone into running now to just get my ticker nice in shape.
You were mentioning the running helps, and I think I've realized this for myself too. When COVID hit, your everyday things you've taken for granted that you were allowed to do kind of just stopped. And for me, I played basketball. I've always gone out with the guys to go and play a sport and enjoy a beer or enjoy a drink. And now that hasn't been there. And it's neat to find that, you know, I'm not alone in terms of the clearing of the mind, working on your own little just health in terms of running around, trying to stay in tune, because of course the business forever is going to be stressful. You're always going to be working it, but you have to find that release that allows you to find that headspace. And running has been that for you?
Yeah, running has been. I had a colleague who encouraged me to do a few runs in the dead of winter, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, I'm gonna freeze. He's like, you're not gonna freeze.
You're fine, yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand. This doesn't, the laws of thermodynamics don't make sense here. Anyways, we're fine. I'm here today. I didn't lose my fingers.
You've been doing okay.
I had my watch at the time, my Apple Watch, and suddenly I was tracking all these metrics and watching myself improve.
Right.
And without those numbers, I would have just been like, no, I think I'm doing the same. But I'm chopping every run I'm chopping 10 seconds off of my average kilometer and all that. And I'm like, holy smokes, like, look, I'm actually doing
getting there
something.
going, yeah.
And so that got incredibly encouraging for me. And now last month I did over 100K. That's a lot for me. It's crazy. I don't know if it's a lot for other people.
That is a lot. I won't run from here to my car, and it's probably parked about 5 meters away. So I mean, that is incredible. You're doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
Is there a food that you recommend? I know that you guys serve food, it's full kitchen over here.
Yeah.
What is the food that might tie in
for
with
this particular
Yes.
beer? You know what? Honestly, this one would go extremely well with our cheese boards.
Okay.
And it would really go well with our burger.
Okay.
So the burger or cheese is what I'd probably recommend.
Okay.
But honestly, this one could go with almost anything.
With anything.
Yeah.
It is actually delightful, a great first choice that has not scared me off.
There you go.
From the next two that
Okay.
we're trying.
All right. What are we doing next?
What's up? I'm Ogo with Zueike, and let's lounge everywhere.